Video games tend to be high octane and exciting, but sometimes it's nice to slow things down. Get some lunch, sit back, and enjoy something relaxing after a stressful day. Thankfully, we have cozy video games, games that exist to give you a chance to unwind. So today, let's look at a few cozy and relaxing video games. Of course, we gotta start with Stardew Valley. If you ever look up any list of cozy games online, Stardew Valley is gonna be right up there at the top. This game was released in 2016 and it was developed by a single person, Eric Barone, aka Concerned Ape. Stardew Valley is at its core a farming simulation game where you decide to take over a dilapidated farm that was owned by your dead grandfather after you became disillusioned with your normal life as a desk jockey at the most soulless corporate company on the planet, Joja, a place so brutal and lifeless that people have actually lost their lives there. A farming game seems boring at first, but this game is probably one of the most difficult games to put down once you get into it. There's a constant feeling of progression as you start from a worn down farm with weeds everywhere and slowly build that farm up into something to be proud of. But even outside of farming, there is a ton of things to do in this game, like fishing, mining, and befriending the plethora of cool characters in this game. A lot of the townsfolk are also romanceable, so there are some dating sim elements here as well. The amount of content in this game is insane, and the fact that I have around 200 hours of playtime in this game and I've yet to see everything should prove that to you. And the game is still getting updates with more and more content. Stardew Valley is an amazing farming game, but I think it's only fair that we talk about the OG farming game and Stardew Valley's biggest inspiration, Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon, aka Farm Story or Ranch Story in Japan, is a game that was released in 1996 for the Super Nintendo, which was pretty late in the console's lifespan. So late that Nintendo's next console, the Nintendo 64, had already been released when it came out. I have a lot of fond memories with the original Harvest Moon, and I still think it's a fine game, but it definitely does not compare to the newer, more polished games in the genre. I figured I should try out one of the more recent games in the series, so I got the 2019 game Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. I say more recent even though this game is a remake of a GBA game from 2003, and that game was a remake of a PS1 game from 1999. There are some more recent games in the series like Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town, which is the newest game in the series not counting remakes, but I decided to go with Friends of Mineral Town because it has the highest reviews on Steam and the highest number of reviews in the series, and also because it's free on Game Pass. Friends of Mineral Town is a solid farming sim. It does feel a bit archaic in places, like how for the most part you can only interact with objects that are directly in front of you. There isn't much character customization, and for some reason you can keep huge stacks of items in your cabinet while only taking up one slot, but you can only keep those same items in minuscule stacks of 9 when they're in one of your bag slots. But despite its shortcomings, the game has a lot of heart. You've got some goofy, fun stuff like coffee cows, strawberry milk cows, and you can also get alpacas as livestock too. The 3D visuals are pretty solid and the 2D character portraits look nice too. I really like how they give each character a little bio you can check at any time in case you forgot who's who. There's tons of characters to interact with, and there's quite a number of events you can catch if you go to specific areas at certain times where you can see the characters interact with each other. In a lot of games with social and dating sim elements, it seems as though whenever you do a hangout event with someone, you and the person you're interacting with exist in a completely separate world from everyone and everything else that's going on. So it's cool to see the NPCs in this game hanging out and talking to each other. It makes the world feel more lived in and real. Although, I don't think there's a game that feels more lived in and real than Unpacking, developed by Witchbeam and released in 2021. In this game, you play as a kid who moves into a new house in 1997. You have to unpack your things and put them away on shelves, in drawers, and on the floor. After you're done, you move on to the next stage, which takes place in a later year, and you have to do it all over again. Over the course of the game, you get to see how the protagonist's life has changed thanks to the stuff they have in their moving boxes and where they now live. You get to see how their tastes, interests, and hobbies evolve over the years. You get to see them go from a wholesome kid to a weird teenager to an adult dealing with grown-up problems. The game feels really personal and nostalgic. The gameplay of this game is akin to a puzzle game, where you have to find a way to fit all of your stuff in your new home. There's a limited amount of space, so you can't just toss things around willy-nilly. Everything needs to be put into a proper place. Each level gives you more and more stuff to unpack, as well as new rooms to unpack your stuff into, which increases the difficulty a bit. It's thoughtful enough that it keeps you engaged, but it's calming enough that it keeps you relaxed. There are some things that annoy me, like how once you finish unpacking, the game will outline some items in red, meaning those items can't be placed in those locations and they have to be moved elsewhere. If the places I put the items aren't valid, then why did the game let me put them there in the first place? And the places that are valid seem so random, like why can I only put this shoe on a specific part of the floor? So this spot on the floor, oh no, that just wouldn't work at all, but this spot, it's perfect. Overall though, this is an enjoyable game that shouldn't take you too long to beat. Unpacking is the definition of a cozy game. No monsters, no worrying about money or relationships, just seeing how this person's life changes over time by going through their things. Alright, that's enough talk about life. Let's talk about death. Spiritfarer is a 2020 adventure management game developed by Thunder Lotus Games, where you play as the titular Spiritfarer, a sort of guide who leads spirits to the afterlife. These spirits can be invited onto your ship, where they'll stay as you travel all over the world and discover the details of the spirit's past. There's no combat, no high stakes, no stress, just sailing the seas with your ever-growing band of spirit companions. These companions start off as nameless generic NPCs, but by befriending them you can reveal their true forms and allow them onto your ship. And boy, do these guys make themselves comfortable here. Before long they're asking for their own houses on the ship, decorations for those houses, and they even start making demands for you to be their personal chef. Otherwise, these people are pretty cool though. They can help you by giving you free items and telling you about interesting locations to visit in the world. But they'll only go the extra mile for you if you treat them right in return by feeding them and giving them hugs. Spirits who are in better moods will give you better bonuses, which incentivizes you to go out of your way for them. You can find spirits on different islands in the world, and on these islands you'll find other stuff too, like seeds that you can plant to grow vegetables, and wood that you can use to upgrade your ship to make it faster and give it more space for buildings on the ship. These buildings range from corrals for your sheep, to houses for each of your crewmates, to a foundry where you can smelt ores. Ores can be found by breaking rocks, which you do in this quick little mini game where you have to time your pickaxe swing at the right moment. Spiritfarer has a lot of these little mini games, like moving the analog stick back and forth to chop trees, holding and releasing the X button at the right time to reel in fish, and there's even a rhythm mini game where you play music to make plants grow faster. All of these tasks are done with your Everlight, this small, well-animated glowing orb that can basically transform into anything. The animation and visuals of this game in general are gorgeous. I enjoy just running around in this game and seeing the sights. The beautiful visuals mixed with the calming music and a dash of the melancholic story make Spiritfarer one of the chillest games I've ever played. This is a game that I started playing for the purpose of making this video, but I can easily see myself playing more of this game later. Another game that I will definitely play later is Animal Crossing. I don't think Animal Crossing needs much of an introduction. It's an incredibly popular series of life simulation games developed by Nintendo where you play as a human who moves into a town filled with talking animals. I started with the first game in the series that was released internationally on the GameCube, and I've been a fan of the series since. The most recent game in the franchise is Animal Crossing New Horizons, released on March 20th, 2020 for the Nintendo Switch. This game came out right around the time the pandemic started, and I'm sure that gave a lot of people a reason to play it. You can talk to your animals, give them gifts, shop for furniture and clothes, fish, garden, and a ton of other stuff too. The gameplay is basically just you living out your life in this animal village. Despite the fact that there are a lot of things to do, there isn't really a goal to Animal Crossing. Like in Spiritfarer, you want to help your spirit friends pass on. In Unpacking, you want to get all of your stuff out of the boxes. In Stardew Valley, you want to restore your grandpa's farm back to its former glory. But in Animal Crossing, I guess you want to make your town as cool as possible? Animal Crossing leaves it up to you as the player to set your own goals. Like maybe you want to catch all of the fish in the game, or maybe you want to decorate your house in a particular way, or maybe you want to collect all of the songs made by the greatest musician of our generation, KK Slider, a guy so prolific and so artistic that he has made a song in basically every musical genre ever, from gangsta funk to metal to bossa nova to polka to Vocaloid synth pop. yet he still finds the time to do live shows in towns in the middle of nowhere. A true legend. There are a ton of items to find in Animal Crossing, and I mean a ton. All sorts of clothes and pieces of furniture to really customize your character and your living space. And it's gonna take you a while to get all of those items because the shops in the game carry a random assortment of items every day. And by every day, I mean every day in real life, because Animal Crossing runs in real time. If you play the game at night, it'll be nighttime in the game. This makes Animal Crossing less of a game that you play for several hours, and instead a game you might play for an hour or only half an hour every day. And that definitely isn't for everyone. I've heard of plenty of people who've gotten bored or lost interest in Animal Crossing, myself included. Animal Crossing is a game you gotta take your time with. It's not something you grind for hours on end. Lately, I've been playing the game about every 2 days or so. In a typical play session, I talk to some villagers, do some shopping, tend to my garden, grab a coffee, and call it a day. Some days there are special events, characters, and holidays to spice things up, but generally, Animal Crossing is pretty simple. However, that is what makes Animal Crossing so cozy. As you get into a daily routine, you slowly start to feel like you're a part of this community. Freedom, routine, and community. These are the core of what makes these relaxing types of games so fun. The sense of freedom that comes with having your own little space to do what you want with. The comfortable sense of routine that comes with doing what you know. And the sense of community that comes with being a small part of the bigger picture. Games where you're fighting evil overlords are fun and exciting, sure, but they feel scripted and artificial. In games where you lay around, chill, and do whatever you want though, they feel open and natural. They feel cozy.